parts are getting deposited, so all the original texture that is demolished. No original texture will be preserved. Fine. Now, what about the high Mg calcite, HMC, high Mg calcite? What that will do? As we know, the high Mg calcite is essentially a calcite with some high Mg, and that is more than 4 mole%. In the calcite structure, if I get the Mg, then I call it a high Mg calcite. Now, this high Mg calcite, that is basically how it will be changing. As I discussed yesterday also, that many of the high Mg calcite tails of bioclast, they have the alternate domains of the different Mg content. And I discussed that the higher Mg content domains, they may be either go to dissolution, or it causes the exsolution. Dissolution or exsolution. Okay. Now, when it will go to dissolution? When you have the Mg content in the structure is very high. That means you have more than 12% the Mg in the structure. When solubility goes above the aragonite solubility. So in that case, the Mg calcite will go into dissolution. But if you have a Mg content, suppose say 6 to 8%, then its solubility is less than the aragonite. And will that preserve like that, 6 to 8% Mg? No, it will also not preserve. It will also change to the low Mg calcite with less than 4% Mg. But then what it will do? But its solubility is also not very high, because it doesn't have a large amount of Mg in the structure. So what it will then try to do, it will try to exsolve the Mg. And that exsolved Mg will be accommodated in the associated dolomite structure, where the dolomitization in many of the carbonate is very, very common. You will be seeing some dispersed dolomite in the carbonate. We will show that thin section also to you. Why from this Mg it is getting? It is getting from the Mg calcite, which doesn't have that much of Mg, more than 12 mole%, so that its solubility increases manifold. But it has higher Mg, more than the low Mg calcite, so that it has to exsolve the Mg. An exsolution, how it happens? That it happens that if I have a high Mg calcite, then then there is a calcite that is low Mg calcite. So if there is a waterfront in between, in the waterfront, in the thin film of waterfront, the exsolution happens with the release of Mg. Exsolution happens with the release of Mg. Difference between this different kind of change of the original mineral to the low Mg calcite. Different kind of. Sometimes it goes into dissolution, sometimes it is exsolving, sometimes aragonite it will preserving some amount of original texture, sometimes it is not at all preserving the original texture. Now, what really is when the end result will be what? A aragonite with high water flow. It will be completely dissolved and form a mold, and in that mold you will get the large scale DLMC spar. So there will be full scale dissolution, and you will get the development of the large scale low Mg calcite spar in its place, and total loss of original texture. This happens in case of gastropod, The gastropods, they make their shell by aragonite. So when you will see that it will go into diagenesis in many, absolutely there is total loss of the original texture. You will only get the gastropod mold. No original texture will be preserved. Just mold will be there. And from the mold we make out it was a gastropod because it was the original aragonitic texture. Okay. Now, high Mg calcite. What is happening? High Mg calcite, HMC, where you have high Mg but not as high as that of 12 mole %, you may have the 6%, 8%, 9% Mg. They will basically exsolve. And because it exsolves and not going into dissolution, it will preserve the original texture. The original texture will be preserved because it is not going into dissolution. Then you can see the original texture, and suppose this is a bivalve, and I know this is made up of modern. From modern, I know this is made up of high Mg calcite, but now I am getting it as a low Mg calcite. So then I can make out there is a diagenetic change. Same thing happens when you have a echinoid. That texture, that cell's texture remains same, but the mineralogy changes because it is not going into the full-scale dissolution. It is only exsolving the cation, which is a foreign in its structure. And then we call it syntaxia. We will discuss syntaxia. Okay. Now, we come on to, once we discuss this, then we come on to the dissolution and precipitation again. What we see in the ocean water, what we see, or in any of the brackish water, that normally the water, they remain supersaturated with respect to calcite, supersaturated with respect to calcite, low Mg calcite. When I will mention calcite, that means I am mentioning the low Mg calcite. If it is high Mg, I will be always mentioning high Mg. Normally, seawater or the shallow marine water, they are always supersaturated with respect to calcite. Now, question is that if aragonite and high Mg calcite, they are going to dissolution, and in its place the low Mg calcite is precipitated, then always there will be dissolution and there will be precipitation. There should not be any time in the water column supersaturation to arrive. It is keeping supersaturation but not precipitating. What is happening really? This has bothered the carbonate geologists for a long time, until the experimental results come. The experimental results show that there is a kinetic disequilibrium. What is kinetic disequilibrium? That is the rate at which carbonate goes into dissolution. It is much higher than the rate at which carbonate get precipitated. That means if you expose the carbonates to any kind of water to which carbonate is not in equilibrium, okay, immediately that water will start dissolving the carbonate. And which carbonate? Which is metastable carbonate, the aragonite, high Mg calcite. But as they go on dissolving this carbonate, the saturation level of the water is increasing. And it will reach the saturation Why calcite precipitation will not start immediately? Because the presence of more Mg. Because Mg and Ca, what is this? Both are +2. But Mg has a lower atomic radius than calcium. Mg is 0.65 angstrom, calcium is 0.99 angstrom. So always Mg will try to enter into the structure, but if it enters into the calcite will not form. So they will actually fight over the cation site, Mg and this thing. And that makes a kinetic disequilibrium. And the calcite will not form immediately. This is exactly the reason the water becomes supersaturated. Water becomes supersaturated because the rate the dissolution is happening, at the same rate precipitation is not happening. And this is a major observation of the kinetic disequilibrium between the dissolution and the precipitation of the carbonate. Am I clear? Is it clear to you? Hello?
सर एक बार रिपीट कर दीजिए.
कौन सी?
सर ये kinetic
disequilibrium. Kinetic disequilibrium. What is kinetic disequilibrium? Kinetic disequilibrium is actually when your rate of dissolution is not matching the rate of precipitation. This is exactly what we say that it is a kinetic disequilibrium. Now, when you have a I am saying that when we see the seawater or the shallow marine water, they are normally supersaturated with respect to calcite. Now, why this is supersaturated with respect to calcite? If it is supersaturated, why it is not depositing calcite? Why it is remaining supersaturated? The reason is that the rate at which the carbonates, metastable carbonates, suppose aragonite, high Mg calcite, they are going into dissolution at the same rate low Mg calcite is not precipitating. And why not precipitating? Because there is a fight between Mg and Ca to occupy the site or cation site of the calcite. And Mg is always favored because Mg has the same charge but lesser size. But Mg has, I discussed earlier also, Mg has a high tendency to attach with the water also. So on one hand, Mg is not allowing the Ca to enter into the cation site. On the other hand, Mg has a affinity to the water also. So ultimately the carbonate is not getting formed. Mg neither it is allowing the Ca to enter into structure, nor it is forming the structure properly because it has a affinity to H2O to form MgOH2. So what is happening that there is dissolution of metastable, it is continuing. So this kinetic disequilibrium that basically makes the water supersaturated with respect to calcite. Okay?
Yes, sir.
सर ये गैस्ट्रोपोड और एक्टिनॉइड वाला एप्लीकेशन एक बार फिर से बता दीजिए.
Now gastropod is actually mineralogically is aragonitic. Now as I said, the aragonite, they basically go into whole scale dissolution, and if there is a whole scale dissolution, then the whole thing will go into dissolution, and in its place the sparse will be deposited. I will not get any fine texture of the gastropod shell because the shell, the only I can identify by seeing the shape of the mold. But when if you have a echinoid, एक minute, just 1 minute. हाँ जी, हाँ वो ऐसे करना, वो लंच के बाद आना. मैं थोड़ा गाड़ी लेके बाहर आया हूँ तो हाँ 1:30 आ जाना. Okay. So echinoid, which is actually a high Mg calcite, and it is basically exsolving the Mg, so it will preserve. It is not going into dissolution. We call it the syntaxial. So that is the difference between the two. Same is that of bivalve, where it will be it is a mixture of low Mg calcite and high Mg calcite, where the high Mg calcite that exalt the Mg, but bivalve do not go into full scale dissolution. And because it is not going into full scale dissolution, so you may get in many of the cases, if the water flow rate is not very high. If one thing you must remember, if water flow rate is very high, then all this knowledge is of no use, because water will flush out everything. It will take out everything and it will create a huge bhag or cavity, take out all everything, it will dissolve, and the high water flow it will take care. If the water flow is not very high, and then all these roles of different kind of thing that basically, and in most of the cases water flow is not very high, so this role of minerals and all these things that come into place. Okay.
Okay, sir.
हेलो, हाँ, अरे मैं गाड़ी लेके, मैं अभी फोन किया था, मैं बाहर आ गया, तो मैं बोला था कि लंच के बाद 1:30-2 बजे गाड़ी लेना। हाँ, ठीक है। Okay, now what will happen when let me see then what is the role of climate in it. What is the role of climate in it? Okay, so I take the arid, semi-arid, humid. So three different conditions. This is arid, semi-arid, and humid. What I am seeing that in case of arid, you are getting the thin calcrete that is forming. No soil, only thin calcrete. The mineralogy is still in the Vedos zone. It is remaining the aragonite and high Mg calcite. Only at the phreatic zone it is changing to the low Mg calcite. This is the water table. Now you come to a semi-arid condition. What is happening? That you have a aragonite in the high Mg calcite is not stable. You have a thicker calcrete, you can generate a little amount of soil as well. Then you have a aragonite plus calcite in upper, and the lower portion is fully calcite. Here you are not getting any soil. Here you get a little amount of soil and the thick calcrete. Now coming to the humid, you have a thick soil. You have lot of bhaks and karst, and the mineralogy is fully calcitic. No aragonite or high Mg calcite that is stable. So what is happening that as you go from arid to semi-arid to humid, the mineralogy that you expect more of unstable mineral in a arid climate, you get a little amount of unstable mineral in the semi-arid, but you do not expect any the unstable mineral in case of humid. Why? Because of the high water flow, the availability of more water. The tropical region, there is a huge availability of water, and that will flush out all the instability. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Now there are there will be now the precipitation and carbonate cement. What are the different geometries of carbonate cement? I have Bhedose cement, I have phreatic cement. I have Bhedose cement and I have phreatic cement. Okay? This is the geometry of meteoric cement. What I have said, that meniscus cement, where the cement is in the meniscus of the two. Suppose what are these? These are suppose allochems. And between the allochems, you have the meniscus where the fluid is actually there. And that fluid is basically precipitating the carbonate. So cement is in the meniscus. Or you can have a pendant cement. Now, what is Bhedose zone? Where the pore space is occupied by both air plus water. What is phreatic? Where the pore space is only occupied by water, no air. Now, if there is air and water, what will happen? It will drip, it pendant. It is something like the earrings of girls. So we call them pendant. So it is like a pendant that the cement will be hanging. The variation of this cement, what we call the stalactite and stalagmite. Stalactite, stalagmite is a variation of this pendant cement only. It is hanging. When it is hanging from the top of the cave, you call it stalactite. When it grows from the bottom of the cave, you call it stalagmite. Okay. Now, coming on to the phreatic. Now, the entire allochem, this is a allochem, this is a allochem, that is totally covered by water on all sides. So, if it is covered by all sides by the water, so you will get cement on all sides. Yesterday we have seen in all sides there is cement. We call it isopachous cement. Isopachous. Or you may have this blocky. This is actually we get in deep phreatic. Sorry, this I am wrong. This is Vedos, not this is not. 1 minute. This one. This one we get shallow. And this is get deep. Now I have already discussed that epitaxial, that is the fabric remains same, and the cement that is growing in crystallographic continuity of it, in crystallographic continuity, crystallographic continuity of the original trace. When the cement grows, then you call it a syntaxial or epitaxial, and that is very common with the echinoid tests. So, seeing the geometry of the cement, we identify that it is either a Vedos cement or a phreatic cement. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, I am coming forward. Okay. So now you have understood that kind of mineralogy of the cement, but ultimately all the minerals and the cement, it tend to be low Mg calcite. Low Mg calcite. Okay, that is a tendency. Now, if we see the carbonates, through geological time. Carbonates through geological time. Are you drawing the figure?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please let me know after you draw the figure. Then I will explain.
Done, sir.
Yeah. So whatever we have discussed here from yesterday, that there are at times the sea is aragonitic, at times in the geological history sea is calcitic. Now, if I see a Paleozoic limestone, if I see a Mesozoic limestone, everything is now low Mg calcite because diagenesis has changed everything. But it is not the actual story when the limestone was deposited. There were times when the sea, now what is the reason behind that? During times of more ocean spreading and marine volcanism. At times of ocean spreading and marine volcanism, what happens? That the Mg in the seawater that preferentially get used for the serpentinization of the basalt. Spreading and marine volcanism, mid-oceanic ridge activity, the ocean water Mg that is preferentially used for the serpentinization of the basalt, and that basically decreases the Mg is to Ca ratio. You can see a decrease. This is the sea level and this is Mg is to Ca ratio. So if I make a scale of Mg is to Ca ratio, so I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the lowest Mg is to Ca ratio when you have the more Mg is taken from the sea water for the serpentinization, and with the decrease in the Mg, that you make a more favorable condition that you get the aragonitic sea. Okay. Similarly, when you have a high Mg, so when you decrease the Mg, that means more favorable condition for the limestone deposition, and more favorable condition, it will help in the unstable minerals to be stable. And the lesser, when there is a lesser, there are tectonic quiescence. During that time, the Mg is to Ca ratio increases and the metastable carbonates will be less and less prevalent. So what people have done? Studied the limestone of the different time frame, studied the diagenesis, then identified that the original mineral was aragonite or original mineral was low Mg calcite. And if they find that there is original mineral aragonite, those times they have basically nailed. These are the time when there was the majority of the carbonate mineral was aragonite. Then they basically backtrack that what is the reason behind it. Everything is basically controlled by the ocean spreading and the submarine volcanism. Now, there is another thing which needs to be discussed. That is the presence of pelagic carbonate mud. We know that the carbonates, they are stable only up to the CCD. Below that, I can have carbonate if it is carbonate is supplied by means of mass flow, or it is from the planktic organisms taste, which after death gets settled. Now, normally I expect this at the deeper part of the ocean, but sometimes we get the ancient record that the pelagic mud, it is recorded right onto the continent. Pelagic mud on continent. How will you basically account for that? It should be only at the deeper part of the ocean, but on the continent. How will you account for that? This is only possible during the sea level high stand. sea level high stand. That the large part of the continent gets submerged. Continent gets submerged. And thereby the condition of pelagic condition that can happen to the fringe part of the continent where it is submerged because of the high sea level stand. And we can get the pelagic mud right onto the continent. Then when this high sea level stand comes, when you have a active sea level sea floor spreading, formation of MOR, mid-oceanic ridges, and the active marine volcanism and plate reorganization. All this time you have a seafloor high stand because the sea volume, it will be decreasing and the water will be displaced onto the spreading onto the continent. And you know that then you can match it with this figure. That is the time when you have the more Aragontic sea, more favorable, and you have the more of pelagic mud. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, once we discuss this, then we will now go to deep burial diagenesis. What is deep burial diagenesis? That is when the carbonate is actually going into deep burial, and the changes it will affect because of the going to deep burial. So what are the processes that will be most important here? The increase in pressure, increase in temperature. These are the two major things that will happen here. And the third thing is the carbonate will be exposed to the high saline water. A more reducing condition. So you are cut from the atmosphere and you are going to the more reducing condition. So what will be the net effect of all these when the carbonate is exposed to this kind of condition? The first one is compaction. First effect that will come because of the increase in pressure, there will be compaction on the carbonate. What will be the effect of compaction? Suppose I have a carbonate. So this is what we call the walk stone. Now it is going to deep burial. So in deep burial, what will happen? It becomes packstone. A walk stone can transfer into packstone. Okay? Because you are compacting it. There will be more breakage of allochemes. And the third, what you develop because of compaction, that is the compaction seam or stylolite. stylolite. Stylolite is a jagged surface. Stylolite is a jagged surface found in carbonate, which is marked by concentration of insoluble clay. Concentration in the of insoluble clay. Now I can have two kinds of situation. Suppose this is a situation. Or I can have two different situations. In one case, stylolite, it is grain confined. Stylolite, it is grain confined. That it is between two allochems and they are grain confined. It is not going beyond the grain. In another case, here is a stylolite which is affecting a number of grains together. What is the meaning of this and what is the meaning of this? When this will form and when this will form. This will form when the carbonate is not lithified. When the carbonate is not lithified before going to Barreal diagenesis. And this happens when carbonate is early lithified and then goes into Barreal diagenesis. Why? Because if you do not have early lithification, that means the grains are still movable. There it is not solidified, not lithified. Grains are still movable. So when you compact that kind of situation, then the two grain that will come close to one another and they will be sutured together. But when you have a lithified mass, then individual grain has no role. And the entire carbonate as a unit, it generates a stylolite. So the character of stylolite that tells you that whether the carbonate is lithified earlier in the phreatic stage, it becomes lithified because of the extensive cementation. It got the lithification and then goes to Barreal. Then you get this kind of, which is the most common case. In most of the cases, the carbonates, it becomes solidified and cemented in the phreatic system itself because of extensive cementation. And in that case, I expect this kind of stylolite to form. But in some case, if it is not done in the phreatic stage, that the cementation, full-scale cementation, then there is still a scope for the allochems to come close to one another and make the suturing that is. Now, what actually happens in either in this case or this case? How these stylolites form? Because the carbonate solubility increases with pressure. Carbonate solubility becomes high if you increase the pressure. So when you increase the pressure and the two carbonate grains, they are in contact with one another and increase in pressure, then they go into dissolution. But the clay content within the carbonate, the associated clay, that will not go into dissolution. So what will happen? The insoluble clay that will be concentrated along the plane along which the carbonate is going into dissolution. Okay, this is the exactly the way the stylolites are formed. Now, the orientation of stylolite, the frequency of stylolite, this actually help us in identify that how the metal carbonate that got buried. And how the pressure axis that was generated. Because stylolites will always be formed at a high angle to the pressure what you have given. If you get the stylolites, they are all inclined. The stylolites are inclined. It's the inclined plane, the stylolites. Then you have to have the pressure axis that is actually not vertical, but it is the inclined pressure axis. Which may also happen in case of a deformed terrain. Okay, fine. So one measure is the compaction. These are all effects of compaction. These are all effects of compaction that we are discussing. Now, second is cementation. What I will expect in case of the deep burial cement? It is the blocky cement. Blocky cement. Blocky cement. But one major important thing that here you expect to form ferroan calcite. Ferroan calcite. Where the iron may enter into the calcite structure because you are now in a reducing condition, and iron plus 2, it can replace Ca plus 2. And iron enters into the structure and is a typical formation of the ferroan calcite, which basically talks about the deep burial diagenesis. Okay. Now, we have seen that high Mg calcite, HMC, aragonite, low Mg calcite, ferroan calcite, all these different types of calcite and aragonite, all are carbonate. Is it very easy to identify all these carbonates when you see a thin section? Yesterday we had thin section. Could we identify which one is aragonite, which one is low Mg calcite? No, we have not ventured also. Because that is very, very difficult. All these are carbonate. So we take the help of what we call the staining. Carbonate staining. What is carbonate staining? That is, you make the coloration of the carbonate. And depending on different minerals, the carbonate minerals take different colors which help us to identify which carbonate I am looking at. Now, what is staining? That we use the potassium ferricyanide, KFeCl, and alizarin redase. Alizarin redase. We make a solution of potassium ferricyanide and alizarin redase, taking these two in the ratio 3:1. There is 3 parts KFESN and 1 part alizarin red S. We make a solution. Then what we do? We take a carbonate slide. Then immerse this slide. Immerse this slide. Immerse the slide in dilute, very dilute high HCl solution. Very dilute HCl solution. Why? We want to make the surface of the carbonate to be etched and corroded. So that it can hold the color. If it is a smooth, it cannot hold the color. So first, we immerse this carbonate in a very dilute hydrochloric solution, acid solution, to corrode the surface of the carbonate. Then we wash it in running water and then immerse the slide in this solution of potassium ferricyanide. Potassium cyanide is a poison. Potassium ferricyanide is a salt. Potassium ferricyanide is a salt. So we have a salt, that is potassium ferricyanide and alizarin red S, and then we make a solution of it. We keep the slide submerged in this solution for 15 to 20 minutes. And then take the slide out and wash it in the running water. And then see it under microscope. What we see? That aragonite, it takes a light pink color, light pink. Calcite, dark pink color. Heroan calcite, blue color. And that helps us in identifying that which carbonate mineral I am seeing. Which carbonate mineral I am seeing? Is it aragonite I am seeing, calcite seeing, or Heroan calcite I am seeing? Okay? So this is how we identify, and that led to the concept of carbonate cement stratigraphy. Cement stratigraphy. Anyway, so I have drawn one figure. I am just explaining from one figure, need not to do two figures. This is exactly what we do. Yesterday, I have shown you two different generation of cement. If you remember correctly, that one cement I explained it as the seafloor cement, and the second cement I explained it by the meteoric cement. Now, if these two cements are cut by another cement, which is this that is cut by the another cement, which may be the blocky cement, then you explain it that it may be the last generation of cement, which may be the deep burial cement. So this is how we identify the different history that the carbonate initially it formed a cement during the seafloor. Then as it goes into the diagenetic domain, it developed the phreatic cement, and then the deep burial that you may expect that it will have a blocky cement. This textural identification of the relationship, that is what I am talking about, textural relationship between different generation of cement. Textural relationship between different generation of cement that basically help us in knowing that what is the history of the carbonate as it is formed and then going to the diagenesis. Okay? It is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I will end the diagenetic discussion finally with the trace element and isotope discussion.